Open your kitchen cabinet right now and look at what's inside cereal boxes and canned soup and frozen dinners and snacks wrapped in plastic. None of this would look like food to the people who came before you. Not even a little bit. Because for most of human history, food meant something completely different and something far stranger than anything sitting on your shelf right now. Scientists digging through ancient caves have pieced together exactly what our ancestors ate, and honestly, most people today would be disturbed by the answer. So let's go back roughly 3 million years to where this story actually begins. Your earliest relatives were not fierce hunters chasing down prey across open grassland. They were scavengers, plain and simple. When a lion brought down a zebra, it feasted on the best cuts first. The organs, the muscle, the fat. Then came the hyenas, tearing through what remained, cracking apart the smaller bones and softer parts. By the time your ancestors showed up, there was almost nothing left except the toughest, thickest leg bones. Bones that even hyena jaws couldn't crush. And that leftover garbage became a jackpot, because inside those bones was marrow, rich, fatty, and packed with calories. Your ancestors would smash the bones open using sharpened stone tools and scoop out that marrow with bare fingers, eating it raw right there in the dirt. No predator on the savannah could reach that marrow, except us, because we had the one advantage nothing else had: hands that could grip a rock hard enough to crack solid bone. They didn't stop there either. Skulls left behind held nearly a pound of fatty brain tissue, and since fat delivers more energy than anything else in nature, a cracked open skull was basically a survival lottery ticket. This single fact explains why your body still craves fatty food today. It's an ancient instinct that never got the memo that the famine ended. Insects were part of the menu too. Termites and beetles and fat grubs the size of a finger. These weren't emergency rations. They were an everyday meal, something your ancestors relied on for a very long time. This pattern repeated for over 1 million years. The same searching, the same scavenging, the same reliance on scraps, until something changed everything. Fire. The earliest confirmed evidence of controlled fire comes from a cave in South Africa dating back roughly 1 million years. And once fire entered the picture, cooking followed. And cooking changed the entire trajectory of our species. Raw food takes enormous energy to digest. Your gut has to work overtime breaking down tough fibers and proteins. But cooked food arrives already partially broken down, which means your body spends less energy digesting and absorbs more calories from every single bite. Researchers believe that as cooking became common, our digestive tracts actually shrank over generations, and all that freed up energy got redirected somewhere else: your brain. Your brain only makes up about 2% of your total body weight, yet it burns roughly 20% of your daily calories. There was simply no way to fuel an organ that demanding on raw leaves alone. Cooking is quite literally the reason you have the brain you're using right now to read this. By around 300,000 years ago, humans looked almost exactly like you do today, and the diet exploded in variety. Mammoth, bison, wild horses on open plains, fish and shellfish pulled from rivers and coastlines, roots, wild grains, berries, mushrooms pulled from the earth itself, and honey stolen straight from wild beehives. There's a hunter-gatherer group in Tanzania called the Hadza who still live this way today, and roughly 15% of their entire calorie intake comes from wild honey. They'll climb dangerous trees and endure hundreds of bee stings just to get it, because nothing else in nature packs that much energy into something so small. And here's the wild part: that exact same craving still lives inside you. Your brain evolved to chase sugar because it delivered two things at once: quick energy for right now, and extra fuel your body could store as fat. And that stored fat is what kept your ancestors alive through lean seasons. A dripping wild honeycomb was once the richest thing a human being could ever find. Modern companies figured this out, and now that ancient wiring gets triggered by soda and candy and cereal and sauces. Almost every packaged product on a grocery shelf is really just sugar wearing a costume, and that's exactly why it's so hard to put down. But sugar wasn't the only craving hardwired into your biology. Meat mattered just as much. A single large kill could feed an entire group for weeks, which meant fewer hours spent digging roots and more hours spent teaching children, building better tools, and gathering around fire. And that's part of why your body still pulls you toward protein-rich meals today. But there's one craving from our past that's far harder to talk about inside a cave in England called Gough's Cave. Archaeologists uncovered human bones nearly 15,000 years old, and what they found was skulls had been carefully cleaned and shaped into cups. Long bones had been cracked open using the exact same technique once used on animal bones. And this wasn't happening out of desperation. The same cave was full of deer and horse remains, meaning food was not scarce. Researchers calculated that a human body provides roughly 125,000 calories, while a single bison provides nearly 600,000, which means eating a person was never about efficiency. It was a choice. Similar remains have turned up across Germany, France, Spain, and other parts of Europe, suggesting this wasn't an isolated event, but something that happened repeatedly across different groups for reasons we still don't fully understand. And it gets even stranger, because your ancestors didn't only eat fresh meat. Sometimes they buried a kill or stashed it in cold streams and came back weeks later to meat crawling with bacteria. And some researchers believe they may have actually preferred it that way because partially decomposed meat is easier to digest, and the bacteria breaking it down even produce vitamins your body needs. And if that sounds disgusting, consider this. Every fermented food you enjoy today, cheese, yogurt, sourdough bread, wine, pickles, is really just controlled rot, slowed down and made safe. Your love for something like aged cheese didn't start in a fancy kitchen. It started on an ancient plain with something far less appetizing. Every single craving still running through your body right now, for salt, for fat, for sugar, for the richest food you can find, was built by millions of years of scarcity. Your body has no idea grocery stores exist. It only knows one rule: eat everything rich while you still can, because tomorrow the food might disappear entirely. If you dropped a modern person into the wilderness 50,000 years ago, they would likely be dead within days, unable to find clean water, unable to identify edible plants, unable to hunt or climb for food. But flip that scenario and drop an ancient human into your kitchen, and they would think they had stumbled into something almost godlike, a cold, sweet drink sealed inside metal meat that required no hunting at all. To them, your ordinary refrigerator would look like the richest treasure they had ever seen. For nearly 3 million years, every human who ever lived experienced hunger, cold, and constant uncertainty. And you might be among the very first generations who never has to. And that is something worth sitting with for a second.